So today I've got Rodney Moore. Rodney is a long-term friend of mine. I have known him for, it must be 2 decades now. And he's a very successful MMA gym. He's had a couple of MMA fighters go to the UFC and do very well there. Had one of those fighters, Norman Parks, get to win the Ultimate Fighter. So Norman, so Rodney, how's life, mate?
All good, Paul. Bar all this lockdown shit, but apart from that, man, we're just surviving up every day and do something and just keep active.
Well, listen, if for people who don't know you, who are you?
All right, well, I'm Rodney Moore. If you don't know from the accent, from Ballymena. I've been doing the MMA since 2000. So I went to America January 2000, came across the MMA. I think you were actually in Australia. When did you come back from Australia? Because that's when I started training from you.
No, I was 2006, I think. I met you about 2006.
So that's been. I've been doing the MMA ever since then. I just started off a few guys in the garage and then I built up from then. And usually one of the most successful gyms in the country now. So
I had Andy Burrows on the other day. I remember having a good chat. We're having a good chat about the old school, the way we used to do it, and the way it's revolved now. Now you're definitely in the best position of anyone in the North to give a description of what you think the differences have been from the beginning when we were doing it in Davy's Garden and Davy's Wee Shed to today. What have you seen the big differences in the evolution of the sport?
Just the scientific and man, we overtrained. Like back when we were doing it, man, they wouldn't do it in a month, but we done it in friggin' 4 days. But it's like, again, there's more injury, like more preventions for injuries, a lot more smarter with all the physio, the rehab. Like August night and day, I tell people it's like an analog mobile phone. I think like a breeze block that you carried about to the newest iPhone. That's the difference, and that's how the sport's evolved.
Talking of that, the overtraining, I remember one time you and Emmett were fighting. You were in one of their Ramble In shows, and you and Emmett were going to fight, and it was about a week and a half before the fight happened, and both of you were in Davy's garage sparring each other because there was literally no one else to spar.
That happened with either Mark O'Toole or Tom Haddock as well. We were actually fighting on the Sunday in the Elk, and I was up at Davy's training on the Friday. And there's your man and fucking doing a lesson with you, and we're rolling about and sparring for.
It shows you the difference. It shows you, like, you know, the way you see MMA today. You know, if you just got into MMA, you would see like the Conor McGregor style trash talk on Facebook at each other, slobbering who you're going to do this and I'm going to do this to you, and trying to get ticket sales. But back in the day, it was a community. It was like everyone was friends, and you'd beat the shit out of each other, either in the gym or actually on a show, and then it's like you're just back the next day training with them.
Aye, that was that, man. But it was a lot smaller back then. Now, it has exploded because of Conor McGregor. Of course, it has definitely multiplied. Everybody and their dog knows about it now. But as you say, back then, there was only a handful of gyms in the country, and you hadn't even had enough people to fight. You had to fight the same boy 2 or 3 times in a year just to get a fight. And see him as traveling over to the UK and stuff. At the start, you actually had to pay your own flights and go across to get a fight.
I was talking about that.
Oh, they're spoiled now, man. They've never left it in laid for them. And
do you think that's actually having a detrimental effect on the sport, or do you think that's good? Do you think, like, you know, we had to, when we got involved, we done it for passion. Like, you definitely didn't do it for a living because there was no making money.
No.
Do you think the culture, the way it's evolved, is better for the sport, or do you think it's detracting from it?
Well, again, it has its good and bad points. Like, of course, it's good. Fighters are getting more money and getting the respect they're due, and it's more mainstream. Like, say, you can speak to anybody in the Tesco's or Sainsbury's now, and they know what MMA is. Like back in the day, it was all cage fighting, carry on, and this and that. So, no, it's good in that way. And again, that helps, you know, at the end of the day, people are trying to make a serious living from it. And it's an elite sport and a tough sport. So they get paid for it. You can sustain an injury that'll ruin you basically for life. So you need some. But also, again, on that, guys are going to more to like marketing and PR. You know, they have their own, like, usually clothing lines, gyms. So they're kind of the head screwed on. It's more business orientated as well now. It's not just fighting for the sake of fighting and learning. You're actually
It's actually, there's a purpose behind it. We were lucky enough to be on the first show in Ireland in the UFC. I was working with Stevie, and you were working with Colin.
Colin, aye.
Now that was my only experience in the UFC. You've had what, 3 or 4, 5 now, 6 more? I don't know.
9 or 11, nearly 9 or 11.
So many. Well, what was the like? This is my own curiosity, and what's the difference between how we experienced it and how it's run now? Because I'm sure the UFC's evolved as a company.
Well, even like back when we were there, I think we were in awe of everybody. You're seeing Randy Couture run about and Dana White. You're like nearly like a shell shocked, like what do you call like seeing a superstar, or something like that. So it was all kind of a blur. But seeing how it's evolved on now, and it's 100% professional and how they run things. There's too many people now. Again, it's not as like hands on, and like back then you had Dana White, the two Fertitta brothers, and they nearly been in first name terms. Like I would still see Dana, he would remember me. And then like now, man, there's hundreds of thousands of people, and you're just like seeing the normal person up the street now. Whenever you see all the celebrities,
have you become less starstruck about it now? Has it just become a run-of-the-mill thing going to the UFC for you?
Wee bit, but you still have your people that you like. But no, because they're like I say, we reached this experience, like to sit back and actually watch him. That's who I was my first time there, and it's just to see. It's nice. I just sit back, say fuck all, and just watch people's reactions and how they adapt to things. Like, it's been when was Norman 2016, 17 was Norman's last run out. But yeah, all the production and all the running staff, they still remembered me because like there's no bullshit with us, man. We don't complain. We go there, we're meant to be on time, we fight, and they look after us, we look after them. But they still remembered, and they're all asking questions about Norman and all. And so no, it's cool. Like,
so tell me, yes, Rodney, how did you get your gym evolved? I actually don't know how you started your gym in the first place.
When I came back from America, I was doing that. It was called Valley Judo over then, and so I got back home. Before I left, I was doing the door, and then I come back home. The boys, come on, show some of that stuff you're doing over in America. And then so just 4 or 5, we just trained in the back of my dad's house, a garage, and then it got bigger. Word spread out. We were doing next thing again a wee Orange Hall, and then trained away there. Then I fell in with Davey because I always heard this other boy in Randallstown's doing this cage fighting. Carry on. And I wanted somebody else to train with because there was nobody down here. And I think there was only Tom Lamont, Davey, Peter Laverty. I think I was at the north. And the youth weren't started then. The FAA wasn't going then. And then you'd only, I think, John Kavanagh, Mark Leonard, and Dave Jones. I think Andy Ryan, that was the 4 or 5 down south. So that was all the clubs in the country at that time. So I just always heard about Davey. Obviously, Graham Keys as well was doing the Gracie Barra. But always heard about Davey, and that's what you man from Randallstown is all brilliant grappler and all that's MMA stuff. So I hounded him down for fucking 6 or 7 months before I got a friggin' response from him. So after that, me and him trained morning and night. Boy, I swear to God, man, every morning, fucking 500 hand-do's, friggin'
50 hand-do push-ups, 3-minute neck
bends. 60 of them fuckers, mountain climbers, wall walks. That was bro. And then we done the exact same thing at night time again. So it was doing 1,000 of them a day, man. That was.
I try to tell people, they just don't understand. I've got my sessions, my training sessions in my gym. I put like maybe 100 Hindu squats in, and they bitch about it. And I just look at them and I go, "You have no idea."
We used to say 500 of them fuckers. We used to do. I still have an old, like an old whiteboard in the gym. Yeah. And it took like 48, 50 minutes non-stop. The hand-dos was the warm-up, and then it's push, the hand-do push-ups, mountain climbers, grasshoppers.
Neck bridge.
Back bridge, that's that, and then your wall.
No nose to the floor.
That's right,
Those days were, I'm maybe I'm nostalgic, maybe I'm just getting old, but for me, those days were a special time in Irish MMA. And Andy Burrows and I went down there like the memory train there for a long time in that conversation. What do you hold dear about those days compared to the days today?
But I think because it was so small a community, it was more personal. As you say, everybody knew everybody, and it was innocent training. You just train hard, and you fought, and you friggin' trained back Monday, trained again, and you fought, if not the next weekend, the weekend after it. Like, I think it was everybody knew everybody. There was no social media. There was no bullshit and no shit talk, man. Everybody respected the martial arts way. Everybody respected everybody. Fair, right? You're going to fight the guy, of course, be aggressive towards him and piss him off and stuff. But, you know, when you get public on social media, thank God that wasn't about in them days. That's what we're actually talking. How did we ever research fighters back then? Because there was no YouTube.
But don't know. Like, I remember. Were you down in the Galway, the Cage Wars too?
No, I didn't get that one. No.
I remember myself, Davey, and Greg Loughlin drove down, and we went into the rules meeting. And I'll never forget this. I seen this guy, and he just looked like one of those cartoon drawings of a hard man. He just looked carved out of granite. He had those eyebrows that came down in a V, and a broken nose, and just big forehead, big chin. And I remember thinking to myself, Mother of God, please do not let me fight this guy, because I'm poor boss of Greg Loughlin.
Greg, go on.
And he pinned Greg against the cage. And I remember the punches to finish the fight. I couldn't even watch. I turned my head going,
no way.
They were just brutal. And I just remember thinking, that weighing, like my fighter was like 11 kilos heavier than me. There was no fucking weight classes, really.
There was nothing there. Man, I've been to fights where, you didn't know who the hell you were fighting. You got there, and it was kind of anybody similar size to you. On the floor, like I'm 90 kilos, you fought something 95. I fought people at 98 and 100. And you would look at them if this year was a bit more cauliflower than the other. Shoots with his head to the outside, and if his right delt's bigger than his left delt, he's a southpaw. You know, you had to just pick up these wee faults and flaws and try and just figure out when you met the guy and the other side of the ring or the cage, you know. So no, it's changed. For me, it's night and day.
And what do you see at the future for MMA for Ireland? Do you see it expanding more? And because we seem to have got like a decent pool of fighters getting on the really recognized shows, Cage Warriors, Bellator, UFC. Do you see it only getting better now?
Definitely, it's evolving, and like there's no such thing as really bad clubs anymore. Everybody's at a decent level, and they're all evolving. Like they're all coming on leaps and bounds. But I think it is now, it's a belief that we can actually do it. You know, seeing the likes of Norman and Reese and Conor McGregor and all making it to the limelight. Like 10 years ago, man, you'd have thought nobody would hope in hell of being from our country, the island, all the size of that small island, for one person to hit the domination of the whole UFC and how he's brought the game up like Conor has. You wouldn't have thought it possible. But as doable, and the young guys like Reese used to come to the gym, watch Norman, and think, oh, fuck, he's in the UFC. Someday I'll get there. Now for Reese to actually be there. So then the younger generation is now looking at Reese and saying, here, this is doable. This is a small island, a small country. And the guys are going to the top level of the world, like, so.
We're a nation of fighters. Like, there's no
100%.
doubt about it. And we have got, and I don't think people actually understand that. They're inside the Irish and the British, whatever you want to say, the UK, Ireland, there is like this ability for such small nations. We've got a lot of guys who are willing to put their life on the line and just leave it on the cage. And you can see it coming through more and more. Do you see it in the local shows? Are you still involved heavily in local shows, or would you let
I still get to what ones I can. I try and corner every guys from amateurs to the professionals. But as man, is that a hardy breed? Because even wherever you've been in the world, man, they think we're crazy. You see, it doesn't matter if it's America, Brazil, you're anywhere in Europe, they think we're nuts, and they just think there's that real hardcore, hard fight and Irish thing that's in you. And like the Russians have it too, you know, and some of the European guys as well. But it's there's just something in us, man, that breed or that DNA that's like you have.
Can you see anyone having at the antidote for Khabib?
No, overly. I'm sure if him and Conor fought again, it would be a different. I don't think Conor's got it what has to beat him, but I thought Justin Gaethje would have given him a harder fight. But
that's what made me think to myself when I seen that Gaethje fight.
And he made him look like a novice.
I had Gaethje winning it. I thought Gaethje was
I thought here, this is a tester. This is definitely a dodgy fight for the guy 29-0, and it was going to be his last one. So, But you see that Newbury, you see that whole division, man. The top 4 or 5 and that top 10, they're all killers. Like there's no, like unreal that other. And now Michael Chandler's not Max, because what he done to big Dan Hooker as well. I thought that was going to be a good fight. So that big overhand, I just caught him like so.
Can you see a way back for Conor, or do you think Conor's done?
I think he needs to just concentrate on MMA. You know, he's boxing and he's got the hunger and all still there, man. They do that training and put in the effort he does. But it just shows you the game has evolved so much. Like that year or so out that he's had out, like the game's evolved and he hasn't that superhuman aura about him anymore. Like he can be beat, and
I think once you lose that, it gives fighters just like when we got to fighters in Ireland got to the UFC, it sort of dispelled that myth that we weren't good enough. And then it's evolved. And I think the same thing's happened with Conor, sadly. I think as much as I don't like the way Conor presents himself as the marketing guy. It's brilliant what he does. He's phenomenal. But I don't like it for the grassroots, the effect it has on grassroots. You know, fighters, you seen like when it was Conor Mania, you seen all the wee lads getting on like Conor, and they didn't have the right to do that, in my opinion, because they hadn't earned it. I suppose Conor backed everything up. He deserves the credit to what he done. You know, from he's 16, he said he's going to do it. But I don't like the way it's leached into the grassroots and kids are now on Facebook slabbering each other. I think that takes away from the sport.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't like that side. It got too far. Like, fair enough, imitate your hero and imitate whatever to get where you want to go, but there was no respect anywhere there. I kind of left the martial arts side behind, and it was too personal. And like, but the last time, now the other side of the coin, I think he was too level-headed and too friendly. The last fight with Dustin Poirier there, I don't think he was aggressive enough. You know, you don't have to talk shit all the time, but
I won £100 from that, so I was glad. I had Poirier to win. I just knew something told me he wasn't going to win it. My personal opinion is, I think McGregor's past his sell-by date now. I think too many people know him. He's lost that fear factor, like Tyson when Tyson got knocked out. You know, and I think, but I do think there's definitely potential for other young up-and-coming fighters to maybe start taking that crown and start pushing themselves towards. And I think Ireland could get themselves back on the mat very soon in the next 4 or 5 years. Do you have anyone you're looking at in your club going, oh?
Well, definitely Ray still get his. Ray still do well. Like, basically, it's just this kind of career break he's having. It's not fair. He's got the opportunity of a lifetime, and he can't train properly for it. Like, we were getting 2.5-hour sessions a week. With just 4 people to train for like the UFC. So it's either relocate to America, but basically the way it was left, just get a bit more experience. When all the restrictions are lifted, we'll have you back again. They see a potential and they see a future in him. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but he'll be back there, and you'll see him. I'll see him going all the way. Like, he's got the potential. He's got the head screwed on. He's level-headed. He's well-mannered, and he trains hard and very smart. Like, fight IQ wise, smart as well. So, and there's not a
striker more, isn't he?
More striker, but he can go on the ground too, wrestling on the ground as well. But it's entertaining. Everybody likes to see a good knockout, a good brawl, you know. But it's just that mix, and you don't always have to please the crowd. You know, take it to the ground. And as MMA, I keep telling them, as MMA, keep the opponent guessing. It's not just a boxing match. It's not just a wrestling match, or it's not a grappling match. If you know, grapple a bit, strike a bit, wrestle a bit, just keep them guessing.
Yeah, there's I think the one thing I've noticed about MMA is definitely it's no longer you're a boxer, you're jiu-jitsu, you're an MMA fighter, and you're well-rounded. There isn't very many people that you can turn around and say McGregor would have been a striker. Do you know, that's been one of the few, but for those making it, they have to have an all-round game, and it requires such discipline and dedication these days to learn the skills. When we were doing it, we were learning out of magazines. Now you've got
VHS tapes, man. VHS tapes.
I won't bring back the nostalgic, but it makes me happy. I just end up smiling all the time. It's just,
I can remember too, man. Davey bringing a laptop and like a copy disc and kind of watching a couple of moves, but then we'd add our own stuff onto it.
I must have honestly about 150 copied DVDs that I still look at Tito Ortiz series.
That's
and
right, man. I've got them all.
Back in the end days, the UFC back in the end days was for me, it was better. And maybe I'm just thinking romantically about it, but there was something about the Chocolate Dale Tito Ortiz series, and there was all these, great fighters that were just had great fucking like competitions against each other, and it's become almost too business-like for me now. I've sort of lost the.
It kind of is. It's all business now. It is. I know what you mean. Back then, it was all, they were killers and they were like training. It was like there was no glamour to it. There was no business side of it. There was no PR, no yellow ticks at your Twitter or friggin' Instagram account. It was basically
you were a fighter.
You fought and you're a fighter. That was it.
I think a lot of guys aren't fighters anymore. I think a lot of guys are like, they like the image of a fighter.
100%. They've been about for years.
Yeah.
They want the name on the poster or the photo on the poster, and then they do shit all about it. Like, but
what's your opinion on grassroots? I'm very strong opinion on this. I'd like to see your opinion. Grassroots MMA. On one side, you've got shows that are helping push young fighters, give them the taste of what it's like. On the other side, these same shows, they're pushing first-time fighters to fight in their crowds of 1,000 people, and they're promising ticket deals. And in my opinion, a grassroots fighter like amateur boxing, there shouldn't be money involved. There should be lots of shows, in the internal club shows, in my opinion, where fighters can learn their trade under less pressure. Like fighting in front of 1,000 people. People do not understand how much balls it takes to get in the cage and 100%.
Do that. And everyone's the videos and phones now as well. You've all that side of it as well. No,
so how did you change it?
Well, I would keep the grassroots. Can you remember it used to be D class, C class, the Pro B, and then Pro? Like, I think that because like the D class was in like a community center or like a hotel. There was no ticket sales. It was just basically fighters and coaches and all the competitors and athletes. And that's how Alan Philpott got the name Apprentice, because I made them, all the boys had to do 5 to 10 D class before they get into the C class. And then they got the C class, again, 5 to 10 of them, and then Pro B and then Pro. It was kind of like a stepping stone. But again, I would do off. Andy Ryan used to do it good with Battle Zone. No entrance music, no lights, no glamour. You came, you fought. Basically, friends and family was always there to watch you. Because that's a lot of pressure too. And the likes of promoters, getting guys to pay up front now. They book a place in their card. And pressure. They sell tickets. I think back then you sold the ticket, you made a fiver, so it was up to you. The money you sold, you could make money. You didn't get fuck all in the birds. I'm not my favor. It was only the winner. It was £500 for the winner, and up to you split it. But you could have kept the 500 one. Fuck you to the opponent, or I think the average was 350, 150.
What? I got 50 quid. 50 quid for winning my fight. It was actually against Michael Redmond.
No way, I was right now.
That was my last fight. I actually, that's a funny story because I remember, and I actually watched the video back recently, but I remember that was the fight. In the middle of that fight, I decided I didn't want to fight again. I remember I threw this big, I think it was a right hook or left hook, and everyone just went, ooh. I just missed his head by inches.
Oh, no way.
And I remember thinking to myself, when everyone booed, I went, I'm here, and all these motherfuckers want one of us to die. And I just thought to myself, what am I doing? And I can remember it, even in the fight, I hit him in the jab in the nose, or bust his nose, and his nose is pouring. And I stepped back and went, go on, clean your nose. Because I just didn't want to be there anymore. I can remember just losing the all will and all heart to win. And I made that conscious decision that after that fight, I would never fight again.
No
and
way.
That was funny. It's funny, I don't know. But 50 quid I got for that fight. And
no way.
Professional.
But even that, but there was no dough. You made the ticket sales and you got £1 or £2 from that. But that was a title fight. I think I had that night with me and Emma, and it was 500 to the winner, and it was up to you if you wanted to give the loser any money. You could have been a cunt about the thing and kept the whole 500. The kind of rule of thumb was you get 350 and you gave them 150 for showing up. So no.
I remember, like in 2015, I contacted Danny Core. And I think it was you as well, about starting up the
UMMA thing. Yeah, it's still going, but everything's in the back burner here with all this COVID nonsense, man. It's you can get fuck all done, and Danny's been knocking his pan on now for.
As I was about to say, Danny's just made wonders. Like I stepped back, I just decided it wasn't for me anymore. MMA wasn't for me, and I stepped back. But I'm glad they've been the person like who started it. With Danny said, Danny, let's do this.
I remember all the first of us got together. Was that up at the other, we call it the skate park?
It was an Iron Fit. When I was
The
home.
upstairs part, aye.
Yeah.
And
But I've always thought to myself that why has no one adopted a system in MMA to ensure that grassroots kids get the best opportunity? In my opinion, I still think this would be the best option, would be inter-club fights where only clubs, or the only coaches and fighters get to watch. But if you're not fighting, you're watching the fight. So to give the people something, to give those fighters a bit of pressure, a bit of adrenaline bump, fighting for. And then the next stage would be like a C class or D class type thing where you've only got like close family, and that slow stepping stone, I think that needs to be implemented. And there need to be some sort of rules where, like you said, you have to have X amount of fights before you can move to this one. That way you're going to weed out the ones who want the glory, and you're going to find that the ones who are serious. And then
raise the wheat from the chaff as such. That's that's them, a proper progression, stepping stone or a platform like that. But that UMMA had that all lined out, like from the kids right through, and it was like, from 7 to 11, done certain stuff, and that certain moves were taken out, and it was all inter-club shows. And
I remember anything like that. I judged the first one on anything like that. There was a great wee show that had 4-year-olds and everything doing it, and the 4-year-olds. It was a great feel.
It's class seeing it like at that young age and seeing the wee careers doing the moves and doing, pulling guard and doing takedowns, and but I think it needs. We haven't got from the actual House of Sport. They still haven't hit the final stamp to recognise MMA, but it's up there. It's so close, and I think
What's holding it up?
Well, I think it was like a financial. They had to get proof just all the books for a couple of years, but it's so close to getting sorted. And I say, as Danny's persevered, there's no evil spatted on me. I said, "Fuck that, man! It's just beating your head of a frigging brick wall. You're getting no further forward." But all the people involved in the sport NI are now like the kind of newer generation coming through who accept mixed martial arts, where the older ones were just either karate or boxing. There was no other, just politics shit as usual. But we're past that. We're getting through there, and fingers crossed it's going the right way.
I think it needs to happen because the reality is MMA is not going to go away. It's here to stay, and it's going to take over boxing, and it's taking over all the martial arts. And in fact, one of the good things I've always said is it's exposed the crappy martial arts I call the leisure centre martial arts for what they are. And I just don't see the point. Well, I'm lying. I can see the point in kids doing jiu-jitsu and karate if it's about discipline.
100%. Yeah.
If it's about self-defense, I'm sorry, just you need to have something more realistic.
It learns them the basics. I think it learns them the basics and gets them a kind of foundation, but it's a two-sided coin again, because you can teach the bad habits that you'll never break. But again, if you have like karate and boxing, we were always told growing up, you do boxing and do judo, because that will cover you. You let the hands go, you up the floor.
I 100% agree. I would say if you're going to do two martial arts, make it the old judo, not the modernized judo, but the old judo when you had the ground fighting in it, and Muay Thai. I think if you have both the arts, you've got everything covered. And you don't.
Covered. There was no Muay Thai back about in our day. There was nothing about it. I know.
Frankie
still doing but in Belfast, but traveling about and stuff wasn't really. And I mean, when I was like 15, 16 and going to boxing clubs,
1920.
1927. But it's nice. But that's where the good thing is now. And I suppose that's what Bruce Lee was doing as well. Like, he was taking the best of each individual art. So rather than wasting 6 years to get a black belt, he took the good part and put it together. So
I think that's what I've always said. Bruce Lee's the original MMA fighter, because I think if you're a traditional martial artist, you've got a structure like, let's say, karate. If you can't see the flaws and the weaknesses in that art, I think you're
brainwashed by it, man. I know I'm not bad mouthing any clubs or any people, but I see traditional people come into me all the time, and they're convinced they can kill dead people. They are actually, and they've never been punched in the mouth before. As soon as you punch them, arms are over their head, they're curling away. They've never been took down, never been choked. It's a bubble burster for them all.
When I came back from Australia, I went up to my brother-in-law's jiu-jitsu club, and I just got my blue belt this stage, still in blue belt. And it's terrible, like 10, 15 years. But I grappled with all their black belt instructors, And in under 3.5 minutes, I tapped out 6 of them.
No way. See,
and actually 2 of them walked up, took their belts off, fair play them, and threw them in the bin.
No way.
And just said, I've wasted 3 years of my life. Just realized. But I think that was back when MMA was just, it was just
very new.
And people know. I think now the martial arts have been exposed. But at the same time, I think people have seen, like Danny Core's very good at implementing karate into his, and the kicks and punches are very effective. His kids are winning the fights with these strikes. Who'd you call him? Who'd you call the guys who drink his urine?
Machado.
He's another karate guy for a solid year and a half. He dominated the UFC.
I'm sure we wanted Steve Wonderboy as well. He's that karate.
Yeah.
But again, that's again, but it's the Bruce Lee one is taking the good stuff and applying it to what's needed.
And I think it's applying what's good for you, because what's good for you, what works for you doesn't work for me.
It's work for everybody else.
You have to figure out your own way and figure out your own methods. See, to be honest, the more I've been talking to guys in MMA, there's a wee bug coming back in me, and I'm just wanting to get back into coaching it again. I'm starting to. I've got a funny feeling I get my hip replaced. I might start my own wee club up again.
get their own going again.
I've got my match
another thing as well about the MMA, like yourself back in the pub, it was who'd won the karate boy or the boxer.
Yeah.
So that allows UFC. That's what was it Jorge Gracie. That's what his goal was. They proved that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu would beat any other martial art, and they put the old pub argument at bay of who would win, the karate man or the boxer or whatever. So
I was telling Andy Burrows about Martin. Our Russian mafia, and I think people, like, I'm trying to tell people the effectiveness of Systema, right? Mm-hmm. Now I'm fighting against the YouTube videos of your big guy going like this, and
that's madness. I know you can't defend that. That's just nonsense.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to defend Systema against that, because like when I say Systema is good, people go bring this YouTube video up, and I go, what can I say to this? It's something you have to experience.
Honestly, God, you have to, between Martin and Andrew, like, fuck me. You know yourself, man. Your man Andrew, you put him in the full-blown heel hook. The trigger escaped out 1 second.
Do you remember the time I put him in a rear? He let me put him in a rear naked choke, and he said no tighter, and I had both hooks in, and I had it squeezed on, and he said go, and I squeezed even harder, and he went, and he just popped me like I had my whole arm. I still don't know how he did it.
But someone, you just have to train it to understand it. I think MMA is a sport, and this is basically fucking fight for your life, for awareness. This is like no bullshit. This is the real someone. That punch they do. You see that punch. Like, if you could control that for dirty boxing and MMA, man, you would cripple people.
It's insane. It's the way Martin can land his back and still generate the force that I was trying to tell Andy about. You complaining about the time your heart was hurting for about 3 days after.
I missed the beat. You've done the punch into my chest. Oh God, it was Andrew.
It's the way it's like a delayed bomb or something. It goes into you, and then like a bunker bomb, and then explodes, and it radiates through your whole body. Like, people think I'm crazy. People just think it's Paul Murray talking shit. And I always have to bring you up. I always have to go, listen, ask Rodney Moore, because he's not going to have this shit.
I know bullshit, I tell you. Man, a lot of time Andrew hit me. You could have got a 32 kg kettlebell and ran across the street and whacked me in the chest with it. And I'm sure the internal impact that Andrew hit me with from fucking 8 inches was a lot more. I was pretty good. My heart freaking I wasn't ready for a couple of days, but that was brutal.
I remember some guy came in when I got Martin up to Fred Academy. Martin was doing the stuff with me and knife work and all, and some guy came in to watch, and Sean Connolly, actually, it was Sean Connolly's friend, and Sean said, "Can you show Paul a few?" This guy was called Paul. "Can you show Paul a few moves?" And Martin gave me the knife, and I was going like about 60% speed, so it was a sharp knife. It was that sharp knife he uses, and he hit me one shot, and I just remember hitting the floor. The pain I was in, it took me about 7 or 8 minutes to get off my stomach and onto my sitting up. But he walked up to me, took the knife out of my hand, and just put it across my throat. and I was still running about the floor going, and it was that realization that I went, fuck me, I've been training all my life in this stuff. And I just, the pain, the shot, the power of that was just, it blew me away.
But that's the Russians for you. Like, how they fine tune and simplify things. Like, there's some of the stuff Martin was doing. Like, I done Cali, a screamer, a lot of knife stuff. And you see the first thing me and Martin done with knives, I felt like an amateur. I hadn't a clue. He cut me a ribbons. No, it was a metal knife with a blunted blade.
Yeah.
And like, before, I would have felt confident. If anybody had attacked me with a knife doing the screamer and doing Cali, I would have felt pretty confident trying to disarm somebody. I would have got myself killed, man. I would have been cut the fucking ribbons. Martin, it was just an eye opener, and you just nearly think, same as you, I've just been doing 24 years of friggin' martial arts, and it's not worth shit.
I actually remember a time, Martin, there was a bit of that. There was just some of the guys were being cheeky, making fun of Martin, sort of. The way system, it's all about really slow movements to let yourself adapt to the movement and understand.
Yeah.
They were just making fun of it, joking about, but sort of got a wee bit cheeky on it, and they offered Martin for a dig, and Martin opened the cage and threw a knife in and stepped in. He goes, "Go ahead," and they were like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, This is not sport. If you're going to fight,
that's right.
And but you've seen the realization in their faces. They're like, "What?" And their egos got bruised because Martin was putting a knife in, going, "We'll fight for the knife, and then we'll see who wins, and whoever comes out alive wins." Type of attitude. And then guys were like, "No, we'll tap." No, we don't tap.
No.
I just remember laughing my balls up, going, "He's a dangerous man."
That was scary. You see, my God, if you kind of got talking to him, some of the stories from the old days over there and the training, it was scared of life out you. And just as he's such a humble and nice and placid wee man, do you think, like, if that man lost his temper, that may be an absolute murder?
There's about 3 or 4 people on this earth I'm genuinely scared of, and I'll admit I'm scared of, right? I'll go like, no. Someone say, like, you do MMA, can you fight? I can handle myself, but there's guys, you just go, no. Martin's one of those. Martin's one of the top 4. I go,
they clear that one, definitely. And that Andrew boy, from me.
He's in the top 1.
Did you get out in Sligo? You did in Sligo that time?
Yes, that was a finisher. I've got the photographs. I took all the photographs that day. It was a great weekend.
That was like unreal. And then, do you remember sitting out in the wee hall and they were all getting the vodka, and then the story started coming out. And,
yes.
And then the fucking the real knives got. I thought somebody's getting stabbed here. We're going to lose a finger. That's how they train over there. They just shot vodka and then they just started training again.
It's a different, but what I like about Systema, I'm actually going to get Martin on because I want to talk to Martin about this, because I think everyone needs to understand. I think YouTube and misinformation on Systema has blackened its name completely, and you're never going to get.
I think on that too, the way everybody's all floppy, but that's, if you don't move, the pain's going to make you move. So it's just kind of do it, they flow where they go. It's like a shadow box or a spar, but you kind of move. We call it like cha-cha, the dance kind of thing. If you're doing like flow sparring, you're not hitting the person hard. You're moving with them to keep a steady flow that the technique works. If you don't do it, basically what Martin's going to do is going to inflict pain, which is going to put you in that position and manipulate your joint to pin you down to do what he's going to do. So it's just that floppy, free rolling thing. It looks bad, but the understanding of the benefit of it, so as the technique works to drill it.
It's what I like about Systema is it's understanding energy. Do you know, I like the way Martin, the first time I met him, he grabbed the knife and he put the knife to my eye, and
I'm sitting there.
You're like,
touch the throat and all.
Yeah, and then he puts in your balls. You're like, stand up, and he goes, "Do you feel the energy?" And you're like, "Yes, I feel the fucking energy." And then he throws the knife on the floor and he goes, "Well, where's the energy now?" And you're like, "There is none." He goes, "Exactly. So the knife's not dangerous; it's the man that's holding the knife."
100%.
His ways of teaching. Martin is one of the most naturally gifted coaches I've ever met in my life. I love working with him simply because I've taken a lot of his methods and applied them in my own training.
And they apply all over. They apply in different areas, not just him. 100%. I'm the same. And his wee quotes and his wee sayings and stuff.
He's a very intelligent
man too. 100%, man. So intelligent. Definitely.
When talking about Systema and the application of the movements, I remember you hit Dean Lister. You said you hit Dean Lister a shot in that fight, and Dean Lister actually came back to you and said, "What the fuck did you hit me with that?" Was that? Am I right about that?
There was 2. Well, I done the heel on the inside of the leg, and then there's one I do is you fake the overhand. Martin says like shaking the water off your hand. I done that, and I got him a good knee and I got him a punch in the throat as well. But there was one there I'd never seen it, and they said it went to him. But it was the way where you fake the overhand and then you come along with the wee bobbing hand. It's like a friggin', as Martin says, just shake water your hand, but you hit the stomach at the same time. So, no, I done the screamer. I tried, or the Sistema, and I tried to apply that like to the MMA and stuff and the dirty boxing.
And did you have much success in it?
Some and against the fence, you can do a lot of the, like, the way we call it accelerator. You ever do the one where it keeps his heel on the floor, but it kicks you above the ankle with the ball of his foot?
Yes.
If somebody's sitting against the fence, you have them there. So you do a couple of them. We call it accelerator, and then I say a dog, but their leg can't stand after it. 2 or 3 of them, and there's one of them ones Martin hits you with it, and you think that sounded sore. 3 seconds later, the pain starts shooting up your leg. Then you hit a second one. You can't put your bloody foot in the ground. So,
and he calls that. I like the way he calls that information. He's got a very good understanding of, like, it's just like it's putting something there, and then your nervous system sort of recognizes it, and it's subconsciously you fear it. You fear that pain. And I like the way Martin would always apply different pains. Like he would say, "There's no point in punching an MMA fighter in the face," but then he would nip you in the back of the arm. You'd be like, "Fuck!" And then that movement, that move there would equate to him just doing some other crazy shit.
You do that and he gets down. But even, man, the leg kick. You ever hit your leg kick? Oh, man. I mean, my legs are pretty well conditioned. I can take a brave chump. Fuck me, man. He hit me one there, and my God, I thought my leg was broke. Like, I can take, even still, I can take a brave whack to the leg. And whatever he does, he lifted the leg up. He just drops the dead weight of his leg, and the shin bone just hit me in the thigh. That dull, vibrating thud. You feel it in the floor, from your leg to the floor. Mike, the pain behind that was, but no, I would take me things like that and try and apply it to. That's why I train other martial arts to kind of try and, this might work in MMA. I'll try it. I'll say no to any of the boys. I'll do sparring. I'll try it out, and if it works, we'll use it. And if not, I'll just fuck it, throw it aside.
Do you not think that MMA has become very not the word ego? It is ego based, but arrogant in that MMA evolved from every martial art in the world and picking what was worth, what worked and what didn't. And now MMA fighters, like we just done it there, I just done it myself, like was shunned other martial arts, they're pathetic. Do you not think like it's almost like it's becoming closed-minded to potential expansion or evolution of the sport?
As long as I think that's what ego ways. Fighters, individual fighters with egos, I think that falls down to coaches and how they discipline and what they let the people off with, because we still kind of maintain the traditional martial arts. You're on the mat, you're there to train, there's no fucking about, there's no talking about Instagram, social media. You're there to learn. You do have a bit of fun, a bit of a wind up. It's maybe getting off topic on what you were asking, but how coaches maintain their discipline and that should be nipped in the bud, all that ego and all that bullshit, and your art and your skill should basically state what you want to say, Bart. That's why we saying, like, basically let your success be the noise. So if you're out doing your stuff and winning, you don't need to talk shit. People see your skills and see how you're winning and what you're doing. So you don't need to be on slobbering and bad mouthing everybody. Be respectful and maintain the martial arts life.
And how do you find that, because I don't have experience anymore in coaching, like I'm out of the sport, but geez, must be 5-6 years now. So in those 5-6 years, the social media influence just exploded. How do you like work around coaching these young, impressionable, ego-fueled young men who, let's be honest, are looking their hole, looking the recognition, looking the likes and the follows, and want to build a social media following? So obviously, it's on their mind at all times. And a lot of them are fighting just for the ego side of things. How do you keep it grounded and keep it sort of in your own methods?
Well, ban mobile phones. You're not allowed to phone them at. All your phones, they come in, they can do their photographs and sign in and let the world know who they are. But after that, your phone's in your bag. You're not allowed to answer your phone or touch your phone during classes. Basically, we normally have a couple of photographers about, like for racing that, doing photographs, and we Jay Hannah and stuff's usually down. So they can take photographs and, give them to you if you need them. But it's kind of hard, man. Social media is the way to go, and the more profile you get, of course, the more ticket sales and the more marketing you're going to get from that, and it can open avenues and doors. Like, look at the amount of people who came from MMA have got into like radio, TV, commentary. So there's loads of, like, even clothing and modeling, and like there's opportunities there. So the social media will help in that aspect. But I'm old fashioned, man. I hate all that shit. I was talking back to the analog flip phone.
Have you any fighters from Bellator?
No, at the minute, no. It's kind of no. And what? No, that's really. We had wee George there, but then with all the COVID, man, like we can't train. Like we're fucked because we're right in the main street, and you can't like get elite? Huh?
Are you not classified as elite?
Well, Reese is the only. That's actually a good point. Reese is actually the only elite athlete in the country. I know I see on social media these wee men one amateur fight and they're putting up elite athlete status. Like, how elite? You're not even professional. Elite only covers a professional athlete who gets paid and makes 11 from that. So we Reese is elite. We're only allowed 4 people to train, and you have to follow the government guidelines. So basically, you're meant to wear a mask and pile of balls, and you're not meant to have any contact. So what the fuck? Aye. But we have a certificate stating Reese McKay, elite athlete status, blah, blah, blah. And he's the only athlete in the country, MMA athlete, that has elite status. All these other people are putting up these Mickey Mouse fucking elite athlete certificates a pile of pish. It's madness, man. Don't get started. Don't get me started on the COVID nonsense, man. It's a fucking...
It's the story I'm trying to avoid. I'm actually actively trying to avoid talking about it because it just gets me angry. It does. It's prime examples like that. There you, Rodney. You've been involved in this. You're one of the OGs of MMA in Ireland. You've built what I classify as one of the top facilities in this country. I love your whole layout. I just love the whole gym and all, especially upstairs in that cold shack that Martin uses. How the hell, as a kid like Reese, who's got a future potential to do something really well here, how is he being given an advantage if he's not allowed to train with people he needs to be trained? People need to understand fighting. You're only as good as your training partners. Like if he hasn't got the training partners,
his hands are tied. So that's why kind of UFC have said, listen, we understand your predicament. Like you're at the top level of that sport. You don't want to come in and lose and damage your reputation and damage your record. So once things pick up again and you get back to your regular training, basically we're having you back again. So like as a son, because yourself, man, the elite, to get to the UFC is everybody's dream, and for you to get there and then to not be able to train, to not be able to drive up the road and train at other places without getting into trouble, it's a pile of balls. Man. It's so frustrating, but it will pass and we will get back there and things will get back to half normal. So.
Why can't he? Can he not go over to America or another country?
Well, he could relocate, but then just the way his personal life over here, I don't think there's an option as such. Just with his partner and just he's got dogs and his family, and then that was another option was to go over maybe and train maybe 3, 4, 5 months or 6 months to do that. But sure, that's all shut down again, so you can't even fly in. So.
And what about Alan Philpott? Is he still fighting? Is he over in Australia?
He's still training. He's in Australia, and then. He's in the pipeline. He's got something coming up here. I think they had locked down again, but they've opened. They won't let anybody fly in or out. And basically, if you're not from Australia, fucking get out. They'll be coming back in. So,
who's he fighting for?
I'm not. It's an Australian promotion. It's not a big one at the minute. Like, I don't even know the actual name of the promotion. He just said it's in the pipeline here, just to get him active and to get him out running again, or to get him out competing again. So, it's around Sydney, so there's a lot of good shows over there too. So
yeah, I haven't actually heard from Alan Philpott. I haven't seen anything about him in years now. So I was just curious.
No, he was doing well. He was not one. Remember the one AFC? They were doing the Ultimate Fighter type thing, but they were fighting like a 16-man tournament. You had to fight. So like he won. I think he won 3 out of 5, but he didn't. I think he lost the last 2.
It's a hard sport. People don't. If you're not a fighter, you don't really understand. Just especially in MMA, you really do make one mistake and it can be over.
That's night and day, man. It could ruin you as a roller coaster. And you see, like the mental abuse, you hang like we Alans came so close every time, and either some personal has happened or an injury, and it's just that knockback every time. But fair fucks to him, man. He gets back on the horse and he gets training again, and he keeps aiming high. Like the career was 26, and he's like 52 fucking MMA fights.
Is that all he is? 26.
26, I know, and he's experienced to go on. So he's been fighting man since he's been 16, 15, 16.
That's what I'm saying. You forget, like, and you know something? It was good to see his evolution because he came from. I hated the wee lad at one point. I wanted to strangle the wee shit. But he's become a very respectable young man. So he has, and he's like, it's good to see anyone from. I like to see any fighter from Ireland do well. And I suppose MMA, like, we're all dicks younger, we're all just young and dumb. But it's good to see a young kid going away and actually doing so well and not quitting. The fact that he's like he's lost so many fights and he's never once the word quits never come into his mind.
No, he's always got injuries too. You know, he got knee and shoulder injuries and neck and no, he's matured. And one of the best things was getting out of Ballymena. See, going to
100%.
Because it just opened his eyes to the words. It took away all the negative and all the sectarian shit. It just got him away. Everybody's human and everybody gets on. So that was the best thing for him, and he's matured, and he's good. He's level head, really good to be coach as well, man. He breaks stuff down. He's smart that way, so he's running the wee game over there.
His fight against Joe Clark a few years ago, I loved that fight. I actually watched it the other day on YouTube again.
I know.
That was a great fight. I thought there was some great exchanges. Joe won it, but there was just some great exchanges in between. Phil there won it a couple of times, and it was just like a chess game of submission and kicks and punches. I really enjoyed watching them fight. He's a good wee fighter to watch. He was. But what was I going to say to you? The difference between Bellator and UFC, you've experienced both. What do you see as the main differences? Why is UFC just so far ahead of Bellator?
I think no, that's a good one now. I think it's night and day, man. It's like driving on an M1 motorway to go on a back country road. You know, just kind of.
Is there that much difference in it?
Man, I guess that's. I wouldn't say maybe go to a B class or a C class road, but it's not. It's just night and day, man. The UFC, they're the best at what they do. I tell you, who's another top promotion is KSW. You see the production and the organisation that they.
Is that the Polish one?
Aye. That's what Norman's with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was them, and then we were in China. There was a crowd in China ran a show, and it's just this attention to detail and no stress for the fighter at all, man. Everyone's there. You see KSW, like everybody's wary about IVs and all. See, after cutting weight, they set up a friggin' separate room, man. We friggin' like 6 or 8 doctors with all different IV stations, making sure you're IV properly. It's not some ropey friggin' paramedic or some drunken coach trying to stick a friggin' IV needle into you.
This is really
taken care of.
This is a really good tangent actually go on because it's something I want to talk about. Cutting weight, because I was shit at it. Do you remember me trying to cut weight again for Michael Redmond? And I was fucking skipping bollock naked and trying to get weight in. And Davey, actually, you said let him go, and Davey went, no, he's going to fucking make it. I was like, you bastard. But the science behind cutting weight has evolved massively. Now, you were always really good at making weight. Looking back at your mistakes or looking back at how you done it to looking at how you do it now, how much better performance do you reckon you could have been? Where do you reckon you could have went to if you had the science and knowledge to have today back when you were fighting?
Frank, that's a good one. Fuck, it was trial and error back then. Because I remember the first time we weight cut, I didn't eat any solid food for 2 days, and I just sat in the sauna. I sat in the sauna for hour upon hour. I mean, tracksuit bottom, sweatsuit on the fucking bike just to get weight down. I was fighting like 4 kilos one day and 6 kilos or 8 kilos the next day. And come on, I couldn't, my arms were like lead, and it was horrendous. I am physically scarred. See, if somebody says to me, come on, we'll go chill out and go to a spa here for a relaxing day, I get fucking PTSD, man. I can see it far enough. It's
I'm laughing because I know what it's like, Rodney. I've just got these mental images of all the days back in like the early 2000s when there was just no clue what we were doing.
No, you hadn't a clue. And then just when you're on that, I remember Rex Franklin was over at the UFC in Belfast, and I remember I was talking to him, and then it was Ed Herman just about how they cut weight and just about high fiber diet. So that was Rex Franklin was the one that got us on the alkaline and sweet sweat. He started it, and then he was doing the high fiber diet, so that followed you up. And then, but again, that's all changed now. But I always pick brains of all the coaches. You know,
do you remember? I know it's going to be off topic. I have to bring it back this because, but do you remember, God rest his soul, Roger Fallis, when we?
Aye,
I
Robert Fallis.
I still use that triangle escape to this day. I use treats that still. Do you remember the one you
pull the knee down one
and step through? I still use that. I thought that for me, the experience of the UFC, the best part of it was not the actual fighting, but afterwards, watching, speaking to the fighters, and we ended up sitting in the changing rooms watching the UFC on TV because it was better fun with all the fighters. But the experience you had for the difference of not the gulf of knowledge between the Americans and us back then was phenomenal.
It was night and day, but man, we're up there with them now. That's
in the last 13 years, we've really just closed the gap completely, and now we're understanding. But anyway, sorry to say that tangent there, but back to the weight cuts. So today, what do you think? What's your opinion on weight cutting now for like amateur fighters and professional fighters? What do you think? Did you think there need to be new rules like wrestling? Wrestling, you're not allowed to do certain things. Do you think they need to be implemented here, or are you still old school in your methods, just sucking up?
No, I don't agree with weight cutting at all. I think people should fight at their natural. The way ONE FC do it is if you're a 70 kg fighter, you fight at 77. So there's they move you up weight class up from your fighting. One, you get the weight cutting just came from America and from wrestlers. Like it's fuck all they do with your performance. Like if anything, it probably interferes with your performance. Like if you have a weight bracket, so normally if you're say you're a 70 kg fighter, well you would just then fight at 77. It saves the weight cut because you know yourself, man. 3-4 weeks out, you're not worried about the fight. It's just all about making weight. But again, the other side of the coin, that's again a mental fortitude, mental strengthness. As commitment, determination, you have to make the weight, and that's you sign a contract to make weight and to fight. So that's all you have to do. So, but it's tough on the body and long term doing it is definitely sore on you. But on again, today's methods is a lot more scientific. You've all your nutritionists and all that. The water cutting and stuff is just moved on so much.
Itself, isn't it?
Huh?
It's a science in itself.
Oh, serious, it's unbelievable.
Give me 2 seconds, Rodney. This dog is fucking melting me.
Right, go ahead, you're right.
2 seconds. Jackson, get in. Come on. Bed. Get in. Fucking got one. I got one out of pop off Davey.
One of the French Bulldog things.
No, Pitbull.
The Pitbull. Oh, me.
Fucking hot, mate. Never in my life have I experienced anything like this fucking dog. Fuck. He wants to fight and fuck anything that moves.
No way,
That's all he wants to do, fight and fuck. He's insane. He's properly crazy. I'm sorry. Right, I'll bring it back into the video now.
Why weight cutting?
So then, why do you think there's been such a delay? Because weight cutting is not healthy and it's bad for the sport, and there's a potential risk for death. It has happened before, extreme weight cuts in wrestling, even MMA. Why do you think the UFC and the MMA in general are so against adding more weight classes? Surely that would make it safer and make it more exciting.
Well, that's what I would agree 100%. They should have more weight classes. Why they haven't changed it? Because more deaths have actually occurred with weight cutting. I know in China and Brazil, a lot of ones have died with sauna cutting weight. There's no need. It just comes from the wrestling mentality, and like the wrestlers come out of the UFC and stuff from that. Like no, I think it's just moved with the times, and basically the way ONE FC do it is perfect, and that's the way everybody should follow that rule. And if I was doing anything over here, run the show again, I would be doing that. Whatever your natural fighting weight is, I move you up a weight. There's no weight cut.
So what do you think? What do you think would be the sweet spot for weight categories? Because right now we've got featherweight, lightweight, welter, middle, light heavy, and heavy.
Aye. Well, I think there's a big between the lightweight and welterweight. It's too big a gap. So
yeah,
the 73.5. So we halfway in between there, and then you've got middleweight to light heavy. So again, like maybe 88 kilos, stick another one in there.
What
every
about
probably 4 or 5?
Boxing?
Is boxing every 4 or 5 kilos, or every 4 or 5 pounds?
I think like what is it? Middleweight. Middleweight's 84, and welterweight.
For MMA, but I think boxing that's super metal. You see?
Aye, but I'm saying, in MMA it's like 77 welter, 84 middleweight. That's like a stone.
Aye.
That's a massive amount of weight. Like
Uh-huh.
people don't understand that, like how hard it is to take 7 kilos off, and how much difference a fighter walking in 7 kilos heavier actually has. You know
Uh-huh.
what the advantage, and I just can't understand, with so much money involved in sport and so much focus on it, why the powers that be wouldn't want to make it as safe as possible, so there's less risk, less chance of those who hate the sport, of human cockfighters,
Uh-huh.
like have less to jump on board on, and you know.
Yeah. Well, it does make sense. For safety is the main thing and the main key. So, like, if you're not cutting weight, you're not dehydrating your brain. One, you're going to perform better in the fight, and two, your body's going to be healthier to take a bit more abuse than if you're dehydrated. You know, the UFC done the big change and done the weigh-ins from 4:30 in the afternoon to 9 o'clock in the morning to give your brain 36 hours to recover instead of 24. So, like that, but just scrap the weight cuts. Like, yeah, of course, you have a bit of cutting to do, but for that other one FC as well, the way they do it, whenever you make weight, so if you're, say, 70 kilos, you fight at 77, you're only allowed to hydrate up a certain percent, so you can't balloon away up to friggin' 90 kilos. You're only allowed a certain amount of weight back on. And once you understand it, typical Chinese, man, is 100%, it makes sense and it's perfect. Like, it's a good system. So that should spread out. But the Americans probably won't take it because the Chinese thought of it.
But like, do you envision a time when maybe weight cuts won't be allowed, and they will have more categories, and it'll be like a natural fighting weight?
But then it was two. No, I think you still need to keep weights for the light. You can't have too many divisions and too many belts, because then likes of boxing, guys are jumping up like 8 and 10 and 6 divisions. You know, like, you know yourself, if you're a 65 kg fighter, you're not really going to go to 84 kgs to fight somebody.
Yeah.
But no, I think you still need, I think you have to be more relaxed, but not as, like, maybe every 3 or 4 kilos have a separate division. A separate
So
weight.
why did they take out why are you not allowed to use IV drips anymore?
Because one for masking steroid, or what do you call it, steroid fucking with the IV. It was kind of been masked behind it, or kind of, and it was the plasticides that kind of were, it was all explained to us over there. But basically, that was the main thing behind it, was people were masking now. What's the other name they use for it? Not steroids,
Performance-enhancing drugs.
Performance enhancing drugs. That gear. Give us that one.
Gear in Ballymena, hi. Big Joe, no problem. Do you agree? Do you think it was a smart move, or do you think it's been detrimental?
Well, if they're still cutting weight, IV is the safest way to rehydrate. So you're, of course, always going to get the people that bend the rules and they kind of try and take. But you see the way USADA are now, there's no way you can get around. You see the test them boys do on you is unreal. You have to log every supplement you take, and then they hit you verify it and they'll check it. So you can't just go to home and bar it, or go to your local gym and buy creatine and aminos and all that stuff. That all has to be sent across to USADA, and they'll check it. The thing they're back to you and say yes or no, you can use that, you can't use that. If you can't get it, they'll actually send you stuff from the Performance Institute from America. They'll send you a monthly supply of stuff that you can use. See, the last stint we had with Reese over there, all the nutrition from the Performance Institute. When you go across, they take over your weight. So they measure out your meals. You weigh in when you get there. They measure your meals, and they'll taper your food down to help you make weight. And they have your rehydration drinks and all made up for you when you come off the scales. They do everything for you. It's unreal, man. It's serious.
That's a serious. What was your experience like in Fight Island? Because that would be awesome.
Cool.
Where was Saudi Arabia, was it, or Abu Dhabi, or
Abu Dhabi? It was weird as fuck, man. It was eerie just seeing the whole place with nobody there. It was only basically UFC staff and security. Like 250 square kilometers, the whole island was shut down. And we got there at the start, we were back green, but you had to stay in your hotel. You had to stay in the hotel room. But we were all, like, we had 4 rooms beside each other. One was converted to a gym. But we climbed out over the balcony into each other's room and just all sat together and trained. We flew over the fucking plane together, so we're all tested. So to sit individually, like being in a friggin' jail cell, so they stay apart for the days. We train together and everything.
If they've been tested so much, and why would they be so strict in that? I don't understand that.
I got near the way because we asked that why. Like, we were tested before we left. As soon as we landed in Abu Dhabi, we were tested again. Go to the hotel, we were tested again. You were locked in the hotel room. You had to wait 48 hours for the results taken back. Basically, we might stay in the hotel room. You had your food and dinner was left on to you. Like, you just put your order on and what time you want to eat at, and they brought it to you. We basically all hung out in Reese's room anyway, so we just climbed the balcony and went into his room. And then once the 48 hours, they give you another band tag, so then you're allowed out. You can come out of your room, but you're not allowed to leave the hotel. You have to stay inside the grounds. But everybody's been tested, and there's not another company on the island where everybody's here is all UFC staff, and they're all tested. So, well, I donnered up anyway. I went to the beach and fucking donnered about. So.
Fuck him.
Fuck him all.
Watching the fights, it sort of brings you back to it sort of brought me back to what it felt like to be watching guys sparring in the gym.
That's the early days. That's what it's like.
That sound, I missed it.
The ring slapping and you hear the punches and it's weird to get a UFC and not have a public. That's another thing now Reese missed out on. Like I walked out with Norman, the MGM Grand, 28,000 people. It was unreal, man. The hair stood in the back of your neck. For then Reese to get the Abu Dhabi to come out with 50 people sitting like it was only all security staff and media. It was just weird, but it was so nice to see that and experience that.
Yeah, the energy of the crowd. Like I always say, like with Stevie Lynch, there's only 9,000 there. And like, my God,
there was 19,000 there. Even at that time, Joe Rogan all said that was one of the most electric atmosphere and crowds that they'd ever been to.
In 2007?
No, 2007, aye. And then again, they went to Dublin, and then Dublin, they beat us the bastards. But
that was because they had more popularity then. But we were the original one. Remember that? We were the original.
No, they said because remember Ed Herman walking out and Robert Follis backstage. He just said that like when Colin walked out, especially when Stevie walked out, man, the roof would have blew the place. It was unreal. He said the hairs in your arms now were standing. It was.
I still think about it and I go, oh. And
it just gives you shivers,
Stevie or Norman or Reese, Reese hasn't experienced it. They have people calling your name. Like I was just part of that group and I got the energy. It is something I think it's very unfair that Reese hasn't experienced because that energy is going to give you another gear.
It's just turbo as indeed, man. Just fires you up. If you say any doubt or any. You get out of double or out of log after the first round, I'd say before the second one kicks in, just that crowd firing you up and lifting you.
You didn't see the clip of Mike Tyson talking about just before the fights compared to actually getting it. I've actually put it on my Instagram there a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't see. I haven't done my social media much myself.
I'll send you. It's actually brilliant, but he just talks. What he says, you just know. If you fought, he's like, behind scenes, you're nervous, you're feeling sick, you're worried, and then you hit that first punch, and it's like, boom, you're back into the game, and it's like fighting normal technique. It's normal shit every day. It's just whoa. It just reminds me so much of all the be able to walk out in front of 9, 10, 20,000 people. Mm-hmm. Like they must give you that. It just must give you that extra energy. You must be able to take the punches you'll be able to, and the kicks you'll be able to take compared to the gym must be like a different level.
I always thought it was like nearly, it's not me, Rick, but it was like you were like an outer body experience. It happened me a couple of times around fighting. You hear the crowd, and they're hitting you, and you hear the thump, the shots, and all. Like I didn't feel fuck all, man. That was nothing, and you just don't feel nothing. And you can nearly see the punches coming in slow motion and stuff, and you just see something before they do. It was just the weirdest feeling. It's happened me a couple of times in fights, but I know I just saying about the crowd and people. Remember KSW done the big Coliseum show, 58,000 people.
Yes.
Norman fought in that. That was one of the best shows of my life. Like that was the crowd. They filled that place. That was 58,000 odd, and the roar and just the atmosphere, the electric in the place was. It was scary. It just made the hair stand on your body, your neck, your arms.
You're known as a coach, Rodney, so you are. But I'm long enough in the tooth to know that you were one of Ireland's top fighters. And had you been born 10 years later, you would 100% been UFC. As far as your fights go, what's your most memorable fight? Or what's the one you would love to? What's the one you, when people say to you, "What about your fight career?" What's that one fight that comes back to you straight away? Or is there one?
There'll be a couple, because I always say Matt Emmett, because that first one me and him had.
That's what I was going to say.
Exactly. Just one, because I don't get back from America too, and that was one of them ones. Like, we just up to the Balmoral Hotel. We're down the back stairs. We're out in the car park actually warming up, and you're warming up beside. I didn't even know to about maybe 40 minutes before the fight, I was actually fighting Emmett. I just knew I was 92 kilos, and I was fighting somebody at 90 kilos. I hadn't a clue who the fuck it was. Actually, it's meant to be Andy Ryan, as far as I know at the start. And then as I go out there, I swear to God, when I was walking into the ring, there's just seen the wee long-haired, wee hell Emmett. So that, for being one of my first fights in Ireland, I like that one. Again, one of the ones was King's Hall, the boy Jason Jones.
Can't remember that one.
I was only back. He fucked about. He missed weight and didn't try to make weight, and that's one I just sat in the sauna, starved myself for 2 days. And I remember after the first round, I come back. Colin and Johnny were doing the corner, and I come back and said, "Fuck man, I wish I had ran the motel." I was only back from actually 3 weeks holiday in Cuba. I actually done a hike in Cuba and then stayed on. So it was like friggin' 93 kilos, and I cut down to 88 because it says I'm not making 84. And then that fucker, he comes across at 95. He never even tried to cut weight. And then I was an arrogant prick, man. And then, but anyway, that was a good fight too, because I kind of thought that's the last real fight I had with any like fire to hurt somebody. I was too placid, man. I didn't like hurting people, and I was too nice in fights. And I kind of not lost heart. That's why I kind of took a back step from it, because I kind of lost the fire. But no, I really wanted to fucking mess him up a bit, because he was a bit of a prick. So,
do you remember losing your fire? Do you remember when it was you lost your fire? Like I told you about Michael Redmond. That's when I got
probably. I can't remember, but I know vaguely. I remember it was in a fight. I think it was actually in Western Supermare. It was over there in the show. I remember fighting the guy. I remember taking him down. I remember punching him, and I punched him. And I was going to go for the armbar. I remember Davey shouting, "No, take the choke." I remember doing the punching there. I just thought, "Fuck, I don't like this anymore." It was just come on, that just random thought. And then I've been in positions where I'm getting hit on and punched, and I'm thinking about other stuff outside of the fucking fight. I'm thinking, "Fuck, I need to get that fixed. This has to get. I have to go and do this or do that." And then after that, I just went, fuck it, man. It was more. I like more teaching the guys something to do, and then sitting back and watching them progress.
100%. You're a natural born coach. I say that you've got a great temperament for coaching. You've got a great gym going, and you are a fantastic coach. You've got a wealth of knowledge. And sometimes, like I said to Andy, the only reason I ever fought was because I knew I wanted to coach, and I had to. For me, I had
to do it. You have to experience it, like aye.
But I never enjoyed one fight. Never once in my life did I never got excited about fighting ever. I was like, why am I fucking doing this? It was almost like the bully child in me. I had to do it to prove to the bully child within me that I could do this. The bullies didn't beat me. But I despised fucking fighting.
I hate it too, man, because I'm very kind of laid back, but I always hated doing stuff in the crowd. Like, I wouldn't like walk up in front of the stage and friggin' talk, but for actual fear of me to think I'm going to fight in front of 1,000 people or 6,000 people or whatever, I would have scared the friggin' life out of me. And then I done that. Then again, back then when I was coaching, like I was learning the stuff, and then I was testing it out, and if it worked, we would use it, and then we just modified it from that. It just kind of evolved from that. And then through the stage.
Great. I used to love them moments in Davy's gym. Remember the three of us? You had a lot of times only maybe three of us there, and we would just okay, what can we do from here? And we would just start playing about. And
I just troubleshoot.
I just wish more people could have experienced what it was like back then, because it was a very unique time, and I'm privileged to have been part of that. Do you know, I'm so happy that my MMA career was back then.
Because pioneer, that was building the building blocks for today's guys.
But it wasn't even that. It was just the friendships made. There's something about, like, when I phoned Fight Academy Ireland, did not have. I actually remember when Davey and I had the fallout. and I hadn't spoken to him in years. And then Eddie Marin came down to Iron Fit and said to me, I walked into Davies' wee club for the first time in maybe 8 years.
Aye.
I felt emotional.
Everybody still knows you, like, aye.
Mate, nothing had fucking changed. Like,
Aye.
I mean, literally the same Bob was still there. Fucking 8 years
He's still
later.
there.
Like, nothing had changed. And like, I really get like I've owned. Fight Academy Ireland was the first big full-time gym in the country.
I used for the first American style gym.
Yeah, but like that was my gym. I built that from nothing. Like I founded that from the Falls Leisure Centre. It still never felt like home. Like I walked in Davies and I remember smelling, just going.
I
remember thinking to myself straight away, I'm home. And it was like I hadn't left. The same people were there. And there's something, I don't know, like your gym's probably the same, but you can't replicate that. Whatever Davey had there, whatever that time held, it's like time capsule. You'll never
you can't get that again. But I think that's to do with the people. There's not the same type of people, but people in general have changed as well. Like, I think they're more back then, not normal, just more like old fashioned, just like morals and stuff. And
what I liked, we used to like, there was no secrets. Do you know, like if you walked in, you'd be, hey boy, really see this technique? And we would just drill this technique and we're like, okay, let's do this. Or I would come up and say, here, I've seen this wee book, I've seen this in this book, we can adapt it to this, what do you think? And they're going, that's shite, or that's great, and we'll try it. That I miss that. I miss that sort of community and that sort of, I don't know, culture that we
I know what you mean, but that was not era, and that's kind of like I would still do that today. We have the wee Tuesday and Thursday, the elite class. Most times there's nothing planned what they teach, but when we just start with one technique and then what do you do from here? So you just break it down. There's actually Robert Follis was actually one of the guys that said to me about he always taught the technique in that way. That was kind of, he always taught it, but he told the people he was teaching it to learn the technique that you had to learn it to two people. And then from that, you troubleshoot each area. So if I was to take you down and you would roll the all fours, well, then I would adapt on, well, I'll do this. And then I'll go back and you go down the other avenue. Okay, then what if you do this instead of that? So it was just to break it down step by step. And then at the end of the drill, man, you have a whole wee sequence put together. No, it's a great way to drill stuff. It definitely is.
The lack of pressure as well on us was so, I think that was a great thing that happened to us. We didn't have any pressure because no one knew anything. None of us were black belts. None of us had a clue what we were doing. We were just learning as we went, which meant we were all in a very even keel. No one sort of like, there was like Davey was looked up to, you were looked up to, the rest of us were just fighters. But there was no real set instructor almost in them days. It was just
trial and error. You just fucked about it, and if something worked. But then even then, you know yourself, that boy's just a striker, just take him down to the ground and choke him. You know, or if he is a striker, or grappler, I'll keep him on his feet and just try and work right.
Or it was even less. I was like, he's a doorman. He's just going to punch him. That's literally what it was like.
Rough out for a round, his gas after a minute.
You what?
I said rough it out for a round, then they'll gas out after a minute or so.
You used to always remember like the big bodybuilder type coming in, and everyone would be like, whoa. And all the fighters after 2 or 3 months of fighting would be like, he's dead. You knew straight away, this guy knew Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and this guy just knew the door. It's like he's as soon as he gets gripped. For me, I went off topic again, like we're jumping back and forth just because we know each other so well. But for me, your best fight ever was Emmett's in not the Ramblin', sorry, the Elk. It was the same show that I was on that the rope broke. Do you remember the rope snapped?
Who was that? Was that, remember? Did you fight in that show? Did you?
The rope snapped. I fought. I was actually hoping you could remember his name because I can't remember his name still. I was trying to talk to Andy Burrows about it and I forgot his name and I completely forgot. He trained with Emmett, but then he went to England.
Your boy Steve McComb.
Steve McComb.
From Emmett's one. He used to train with Emmett. No,
yes. Great grappler.
Aye.
You were fighting the same show with Emmett that day.
I can't mind the rim. I was probably upstairs. I can't remember the rope breaking.
I do, because it took me 20 minutes. It took it 20 minutes, and then I lost all hope in the hell.
Hateful, man.
You fucking went through the rope, and I was like, I'm doing well here. The rope snapped, and then I was like, fuck.
Just it breaks your kind of momentum and takes you from just goes out of the zone.
But I remember you fought Emmett that day, and it was a fucking war. It was an absolute. You two had, so was it 3 fights you had?
No, that was the second. We never had the third because then he went down to welterweight. Then after that was at middleweight. But that was one I actually kicked, but it was my knee hit him in the kick. It was the cut that stopped the fight, and I said, "Man, that's a shit way to win the fight, man. I didn't want to take the belt." But he won fair fucks. No, he wins a win. So
it was a great fight, though. You two fought fucking. You brought the fight together. Like it's like for guys who knew each other so well, you were able to leave your friendship.
It was not personal. You're there to fight and you're there to win. Like because Emmett, fuck man, he put power in. I remember having me play my bell, fucking just white flash. Remember the room spinning, and I went, "Fuck me."
Do you remember he knocked Eddie out? Do you remember the time he knocked Eddie out in the spar? We remember Davey had, I think David had an orange hollow or something at this point where we're in between clubs. And fucking Emmett came up and just, like it's on video, it's on VHS, Emmett just caught Aiden, and Aiden was gone for minutes. Like, fuck, Emmett could punch for such a small being.
That first fight, he broke my nose. The first fight, said that he hit me 2 again. But remember, hit me a big fucking overhand. I remember just getting the big thud. Just seeing the white flash. And then I just remember the room going in circles, and I was like, "Oh fuck, that isn't good." So,
and what about your sparring style now? Because like you said just about Cha-Cha, I take it you've realised that the way we sparred is not congruent with actually success.
No, that's moved on. That's evolved a great bit since then.
So what do you have? Do you have set rules? I know John Kavanagh, he has touch sparring. Like it's very rarely they get hit, and I'm starting to actually think that is probably the most intelligent way to spar because every punch you take is traumatic. You do need to have a certain sort of.
We'll take a couple of weeks. We'll take a couple of weeks phase any fights where you have to get the deep water, a fresh man every couple of minutes, and heavy sparring. You're there to try and finish the person. But we've been doing it since it was Martin de Jong and Alistair Overeem actually. 2005, I was over in Holland training with them, and I watched how they sparred, and they call it Cha-Cha, so that's where we took the name from. It's just light contact, touch sparring, but you still flow, single leg, takedown, pass guard, ground and pound, submission. The sequence, you just keep flowing and evolving the whole time. So there's no ego involved. It's just the idea to train your eyes to see the attacks coming. We've been doing that for 15 years, man. Easy, 12, 15 years.
And do you think it has a good crawl? Well, obviously it does.
100%. Because I tell you now, I'm not going to say, but we were over in the show in England. And remember, I was with Greg Locker and Phil Pott. And this other massive gym was doing the warm-up. And I mean, sprawl drill, level change shoot, burpees, tie drill, 1 to 8, beating shot of it. And there, me and Greg and Phil Pott were just doing shadow, cha-cha, nice and light. And I seen them watching us saying, what the fuck, them boys aren't working out too hard. And then 6-7 months later, I seen the same guys doing what we're doing. So you were talking about them there, but that's where it kind of came from.
I'm not
saying no names, but we've been doing it for 15 years, man.
So you're the original guy. You're the reason why we're all doing it.
Well, Martin him and Alistair Overeem.
But I mean, you brought it this country.
I brought it to Ireland.
Yeah. Rodney, I think we'll leave it there, mate. That was an hour and a half. It was great to catch up.
Fuck me, man. I'm going to cut logs now. I'm going to give an out by hand, cut down tree and splat logs.
It's about time you done some work. You're putting on a bit of weight.
Fuck lying about doing nothing here.
Rodney, it was brilliant catching up with you, mate. I really appreciate you taking the time up.
Brian, speak to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, mate. Speak to you. Before you go, Rodney. Before you go, let everyone know where you exist, where they can get you, and how to get in contact with if they want to do MMA.
Okay, right, guys. If anybody wants to get in touch, our gym is IMMA Gym Next Generation Northern Ireland. It's based in Ballymena. We're on Twitter, social media. We call it Instagram, Facebook. So just IMMA Gym. And the way things are, there's not much training happening, but contact on that for information. And when we're open again, hopefully see us all there.
Thank you very much, mate. And I'll
Oh.
speak to you soon. I'll definitely, when it's open up, I'm going to go up to him and Martin anyway. So good catch up with you anyway.
Yeah, well, they see you in person.
Yes, mate, I will do. But
Right.
you know what? Actually, I was saying that I want to do an interview, a podcast where I have all the old school, Andy Burrows, yourself, Johnny, Davey.
I'll be unreal.
Just sitting around talking about reminiscing of the old days. I think that'll be an amazing conversation.
Fuck COVID. We can all do it, and now we can just pick a venue and we'll do it now. You come with my
Yeah, let's go. Rodney, I'll see you later, mate.
Right, Paul. See you, man.
Okay, buddy. See you later. Good luck.